I want to talk LSU offensive line in the NFL draft. Damian Lewis, Sadiq Charles, some other guys, Lloyd Cushenberry, obviously somebody in that conversation. But let's go ahead and let's start with Damian Lewis. This is a guy that you've been high on all season long, and he goes to the perfect situation in Seattle. DJ Fluker gets released from Seattle. Now Damian Lewis has a starting spot if he goes out there and takes care of his business.
I think that's why they drafted him, Jacob. I think they brought him in because they knew he was a starting talent. I think they thought that he could come in and be the guy. They're going to save some cap space by allowing Fluker to move on. And Damian Lewis is going to compete for that starting job there in Seattle. He had a great finish to the season. I always appreciate when I see offensive linemen improve across the course of a season. It's one thing to be great week one, but to be good week one, to be great in the middle of the season, and then improve upon that towards the end of the season, that shows me that you're continuing to learn, you're continuing to progress, that the little things are beginning to make more sense. The game is slowing down for you. And I thought all those things happened for Damian Lewis last year. He played his best football the last quarter of the season, and obviously LSU played a lot of important games the last quarter of the season. So physically, he's capable of being a big-time guard in the NFL. He moves well, got a ton of power, and I thought it was a great value pick for the Seahawks where they were able to pick him up.
And Cole, I think you could make the argument that he's only going to improve because he's a guy that came over from junior college. He improved so much year one and year two, and he started out pretty good in year one at LSU, but you did see that growth that you're talking about, and so he didn't play 3 or 4 years at a major D1 college. He came from the junior college ranks, and so I truly believe there's still room for improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think he's approached his ceiling, and conceptual learning is something that I think he'll have an area to grow, and you get into a different system, and obviously it takes you a little while to figure things out, and hopefully he can find something a little bit more consistent in the NFL where he's in the same system 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then obviously you really have a chance to be elite. So when I see a guy who's 320, 330 that has the lateral quickness and movement that Damian Lewis does, he fits in almost any system. But the understanding of how to be somewhere, where to be, where your pads fit, how to work double teams, when to come off on pass pro, those are all things that you just continue to learn and grasp over time. And I think he's in a good situation there with a veteran quarterback to be able to slowly improve across the course of his NFL career as a starter.
Cole, I remember when it became very obvious that LSU was right in the thick of the national title hunt towards the middle of October, Jordy Collada and I had a discussion of who the second most valuable guy, who is this after Burrow, who's the guy that you just really don't want to lose off this team. And we gave a lot of consideration to Lloyd Cushenberry, probably more so because of the depth chart than anything. But do you buy into that at all, and what do you think his NFL prospects are?
I think he can be a long-time starter. I think the only thing that works against him is you hadn't seen him a lot at guard. So if you're going to be a center in the NFL, you're pretty much going to have to be the starter. A lot of teams don't carry just a backup center. But I think if he needed to be an emergency guard, he probably could. And I think I would expect he might get some work there early in his career. You're getting a great individual, number one. You're getting a great human being. You're getting a leader. You're getting somebody who wants to learn, who wants to progress. He's not going to have to be told to go do the simple things on a day-to-day basis. He'll be in the facility on his own. He'll be orchestrating team activities on his own. And that's the kind of individual you're talking about with Lloyd Cushenberry. I think you saw a little bit more of a physical player 2 years ago, but I also think the system has a little bit to do with that. I mean, you go from, being a team that goes 7-8 man protection most of the time and runs the football first to a team that throws the ball 50 times a game. Your mindset's going to change a little bit over time. So I think he can be a long-time starter in the NFL. I think he's a great individual, great player, great leader, gives you intangibles at that position. He obviously understands how to direct traffic. And, similar to what I said about Joe Burrow, when the people would say, oh, it's the system and he benefited from that. Well, yeah, but he also flourished in a system that was handed to him in late January. Same thing with Lloyd Cushenberry. A lot of that stuff changed for them, and he was able to excel in it with just one off season. I think there's value in that, where guys can take something new, adapt to it quickly, and show you that it's not going to be an issue for them moving forward.
Catching up with Cole Cubelic here on Hanging with Hester. Cole, Sadiq Charles was taken with the second pick in the 4th round. Trent Williams gets traded from Washington to the 49ers. Sadiq Charles looks like he potentially could be the starter at left tackle for the Redskins. If Sadiq didn't have the off-the-field stuff And if they thought enough to trade Trent Williams to have that spot open up for Sadiq, where would Sadiq have gone in this year's NFL draft, in your opinion?
I think you're probably looking at a mid to late second rounder. I think he's a guy that physically has all the tools. There are inconsistencies in his game. He has a tendency to open his hips a little bit. He gets long-legged at times. He doesn't stay bent the way that he needs to. And I think some of that is just consistency with, being at practice, being a starter, getting the right kind of reps that you need as well. Mentally that can begin to affect you. But he's got long arms. He's got quick feet. Change of direction is really good for a guy his size, and he's got good power. I mean, he gets engaged, he gets locked onto. You're not getting away. So I do think that they're planning on giving him every opportunity to start. Now, whether he goes and wins it is going to be on him for some of the reasons that you said. Maturity. Is he going to be ready mentally, emotionally? Is he going to go take that position? Well, that's on him. It doesn't matter where they drafted him. He's going to have to go take it and prove that he wants it. But I think he has the physical tools to be able to do it. I easily could have seen him off the board in the second round, maybe with a consistent, really good season, stuck into the bottom of the first with the run on tackles we had. You never know. There always could have been a team that would have moved in to try to get him or get the next guy. I think that may have been possible as well.
Speaking of moving in, Cole, we had Tommy Stevens on in the first hour. The Saints moved back into the draft into the 7th round to take him. Do you see a role from him in that organization?
I have no idea what's happening with that pick. I have no idea what's happening with the Saints draft, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying that they got bad players, but Cesar Ruiz, I think you could have gotten a Lloyd Cushenberry or a Tyler Biadasz a round or 2 or 3 later, and you get a very similar player. Eric McCoy was a guy coming out of A&M, but I knew he was going to be a good NFL player. I knew he was going to be able to be dominant because he had that kind of film that he had put on. And he played guard, and he played center, and he excelled at both positions at Texas A&M. Eric McCoy is one of those offensive linemen that doesn't wear gloves. It's like anytime you see one of those guys, you know you're dealing with just a completely different type of individual. And, that's how he plays. That's who he is. Cesar Ruiz is solid, but I don't know if he's going to change your offensive line. Even if you're planning on moving on from Larry Warford, the pick just didn't make a lot of sense with a year or 2-year window with a Hall of Fame quarterback to potentially go grab another Lombardi trophy. And then the Tommy Stevens pick after you signed, you're going to try to bring Jameis Winston in. I mean, that's just all of a sudden things become a little bit murky as far as what's happening at quarterback, who's the quarterback, because obviously by letting Teddy Bridgewater go, there was a little bit of a sign that you believed that Taysom Hill could at least be your number 2 quarterback and then have the role doing the other things for you. So a little bit of a confusing draft as far as the New Orleans Saints were concerned for me. I thought you could have done something else maybe once or twice. I like the Zach Bond pick. I think he's a guy that can help right away. I know a lot of people are high on Adam Troutman at tight end, a guy who maybe could flex and help you down the field some, but their first and their last picks were ones that were a little bit of head scratchers for me.
Who moves to guard, Caesar or McCoy? Because it feels like it's Caesar, because McCoy to me is a guy that you build your offensive line around. I thought he had a hell of a rookie year.
I think because Cesar Ruiz's weakness is in pass pro, you try to get him at center. I think Eric McCoy would be better on his own at guard than Cesar Ruiz would. So just based on what I've seen and what I know about the two guys, that's the way that I believe it would play out.
That's something I actually mentioned on air, and we were talking about that was the part of his game that probably needs to improve the most. And when you're at center, you're protected in pass protection more than any other position. I mean, you would know that's what you played at Auburn. When you have those 2 guards next to you and you can use angles and leverage and get on somebody's hip. And so that's a great point because McCoy is stronger in pass protection. Perhaps that could move him to guard.
Well, and I think, too, you look at you're going to have the capability to send the protection wherever you want. You're going to be able to do things that are going to be more beneficial, not just for yourself, but for either guard. So, Cesar Ruiz has got good feet. He understands leverage and angles. He's got pretty good hands. He brings some pop, but he gets a little bit lost in pass pro at times. So the fact that you could have the assurance, you're not going to see a bare front in the NFL very often where the center and both guards are covered. So you could almost be assured that he's not going to be singled up too much unless it's some sort of a pressure package, which then the ball's probably coming out quick anyway. I think your advantage is with Ruiz at center.
All right, Cole, before we get you out of here, I want to ask about a guy on the defensive front. I want to ask about another LSU guy. Rashard Lawrence gets picked in the 4th round by the Arizona Cardinals. Where do you see him fitting in on that defense? What do you think he'll thrive the most at in his NFL career as far as position?
Yeah, I think you're probably looking at a 3-down defensive end. Rashard's got great technique and great fundamentals. His only real concern for me is going to be durability. If he's healthy and he wants to be a guy that plays a lot of football, I think he can help that team. I think he can be a heavy rotational guy. I think he could probably work his way into being a starter. But the advantages that he'll have is the understanding of how to use his hands. He understands pad level. He plays a physical game. He's got heavy hands. The thing that works against him is that they got a lot of young defensive linemen there, but he's a guy that plays heavier than he is. Like they take Lakey Fotu out of Utah. He's a 330, 40-pound guy. Lawrence isn't that heavy, but he plays that heavy at times. So I think you could widen him out a little bit, and he gives you somebody who's really good against the run and really, really physical at the point of attack. And they're going to need protectors if they're going to play Isaiah Simmons close to the line of scrimmage, which is what they said they're going to do. Isaiah Simmons is not going to hold up near the line of scrimmage very well. You're going to need bodies to protect him, take on blocks, know how to play double teams, and Rashard Lawrence can do that. Bottom line, is he healthy? If he is, I think he's a guy that sees a lot of snaps for that Arizona defense.
All right, he is Cole Cubelic, does a fantastic job for the SEC Network and SiriusXM Radio. Cole, appreciate the time.
Good catching up, Jacob.